What's up, YouTube? On this episode of Coddiwomple Overland, we're going to be hitting the Idaho BDR.
We don't need a destination, let's go where the river's taking us.
John's first breakfast on our Appalachian. Aspen's guarding it.
Yeah.
Look, there's already a skeeter stuck to the top of the butter. The bill, we had a car, the whole thing was like,
When we left you on the last episode, we had finished up the northern section of the Nevada BDR. After filling our stomachs and our water tanks, it was time to get on the trail. We will be starting the Idaho BDR from here and making our way north. If you watched our last episode, then you know that we had found camp right on the Nevada-Idaho border, and that's where we'll be starting the day, and this is Jarbidge Canyon. Well, good morning, campers. Another beautiful night in Idaho this time. We had just crossed over the state line. Stayed in a beautiful canyon. This is the Jarbidge Creek Canyon. We stayed right where two rivers come together and form the bigger one, which leads into some Class 3, Class 4 rapids for those who like to play on the water. For today, we're going to continue our way, making our way out of the canyon and into the great expanses of the southern Idaho desert. Hang on, it's going to be a fun and dusty ride. As you climb your way up out of the canyon, you find yourself on the very expansive high desert of southern Idaho. This section was very flat, it was smooth and fast. You could see the mountains off into the distance with the snow caps, and those were pretty cool to look at. Other than that, it was just wide expanse of nothing. By the time we made it to the Snake River, it was time to air up, as we would be on blacktop for a little bit before making our way into Glenn's Ferry for lunch.
I hope there's a place to sit inside.
After having a really good lunch at the stop drive-in, we continued our way north and back off the blacktop. We continued our way across the high desert, but could see the greener mountains coming up in the distance. The closer we got to the mountains, the more texture and elevation changes that the terrain started having. Aspen trees grow at different elevations up here in Idaho. In places like Colorado and Utah, they grow at elevations of about 8,000 feet. Here, they start around 6,000. Making our way north of US 20 and headed towards the South Fork of the Boise River, the Anderson Ranch Dam came into view. The Anderson Ranch Dam was built in 1950. Its primary purpose was for irrigation, and a secondary purpose was for hydroelectric power. It covers a little over 4,800 acres, and now serves as a great asset for fishing, boating, and camping. We were really hoping to be able to catch a campsite along the lake. But before we could find a campsite, we had to make our way down into the gorge and across the dam. Once you make your way across the dam, the road follows the shore of the lake along the west side. We drove along the shoreline for several miles and was striking out on finding any kind of campsite. We did find a dock to stop by and just enjoy the water for a little bit before traveling on. I think we could have sat here all day, but the real goal was to try to find a campsite along the shore to where we could spend the rest of the evening. We completely struck out across the southern access of the reservoir, so we decided to cross over the hill and check out the northern access part to see if we could find something there. Down there, the farthest end.
Yeah.
Scan the bank there and see if there's anything you think might work. Well, we completely struck out about finding a campsite along the river, but we did find one right along this stream. On the menu tonight was Mexican. It was Mexican night around camp. This was also a good time to clean off some of the dust from the windshields and the filters from the long day of the dusty ride. Matt, you go over do mine when you get done.
Yeah, there's
tomato on our
tomatoes
side.
over there. Go get you some, Matt. I cut up a great big one.
Yeah, I'm gonna air down a little bit.
We could tell there was more to the creek than what was right there just by the sound. So we decided to go see where the bigger noise was coming from. And this is what we found.
No, I ain't.
After dinner and a little stroll, it was time to sit around and enjoy the rest of the night. Guess you can probably tell what I'm doing. It's not all just about relaxing. Sometimes you gotta work a little bit out here. That being said, it is a pretty cool office. What are you doing to that biscuit?
A lot of mustard, I love mustard on my sausage.
It's straight out of Sling Blade, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
In Idaho, apparently huckleberry is a pretty big thing, so we stopped at a store yesterday. Deb picked up some wild huckleberry jelly. I tried it a minute ago. Should have got that on video, the initial expression, but it really wasn't anything big. This is really good stuff, so I didn't spit it out or anything. Get you some huckleberry jelly. It's pretty good. With 30 gallons of water on board, we weren't anywhere near running out, but we did want to top off just to make sure. You never know when you're going to be on a long stretch between water. Leaving camp and making our way into the Trinity Mountains, this is exactly what I envisioned Idaho to look like. Welcome to Idaho. Good morning, campers. We have finally made it into an area where it looks like what Idaho should look like. We are continuing our way north. Today we were finished up close to Pine yesterday. For the next 100 miles or so, we're going to be on nothing but dirt. Look forward to an exciting day filled with adventure and amazing views. By mid-afternoon, we had made it to the middle fork of the Boise River. Matt and I had talked about wanting to do some fly fishing before the trip. We both had gathered up gear, got our license at a last town that we had stopped at. This was going to be the perfect place to give it a shot. The only thing we needed now was camp by the river. One of the first things we found along the river was a hot spring.
The hot springs.
Can't hear you.
This one's better.
Uh-huh.
This one's hot.
What about that one over to your right? But you can step right out in the water there and it'd be cool.
Still hot out
Take, what about right out there? Off to your left.
there. Right here it gets full.
Just upstream from the hot spring, we found the perfect campsite to set up for the afternoon and into the night. This is not something we normally do, but we decided to unhook kind of like a base camp so we could move up and down the river to fish and to go to the hot springs a little bit later in the evening.
Let's hop off. Got a little dusty.
The temperature was in the 80s and the weather was gorgeous. It was a perfect day to just sit around by the river and relax.
You're going to be a drowned rat. You're going to fall. Just walk through it. Let's add the things that I had like half meats of. What'd you eat, a Reuben sandwich?
As the sun started to go down behind the mountains, we all made our way down to the hot springs. That's where Deb and Dawn got into the hot springs, and Matt and I done a little fishing.
That's where we almost died. We almost got ate by a snake.
Well, I didn't run. I was there, but I just didn't know what else to do.
Apparently, Dawn and Deb are not the only ones that like the hot springs. There are all kinds
smaller
of these
than the
gopher
other one.
snakes around. Apparently, they like it pretty well too. Getting to camp early and just relaxing was a great change of pace. We really enjoyed it, and it may be something we do a little more in the future. I hope you'll hang around to the next episode as we find one of the coolest campsites that we've ever found anywhere in the United States. I hope you've liked this one so far, and until next time, see ya.